Give us a break. The same week we hear about Obamacare breaks like special perks for lawmakers, a potential big tax break for unions, and a possible bailout for insurers, we're finding this out. A Department of Justice brief showing the administration knew in 2010 that a huge percentage of employer-provided health plans would be canceled once the employer mandate kicks in. If you do the math, that adds up to about 80 million Americans who could lose their policies once the employer mandate kicks in. So while the insiders get the breaks, do the rest of us just get broken? Hi, everybody. I'm David Asson. Welcome to Forbes on Fox. Let's go in focus with Rich Karlgaard, Mike Ozanian, Sabrina Schaefer, Elizabeth McDonald, Rick Unger, and John Tamny. So, Rich, more special favors for friends, but are the rest of us getting shafted?
Yeah, and we should have seen this coming. I mean, in the same 2010, President Obama said in the run-up to the congressional elections that elections are about rewarding your friends and punishing your enemies. And so Obama's friends get these breaks. Now, here's the dilemma that they're in. Young people overwhelmingly supported President Obama, and young people, even young liberals, are very intolerant of two things. Number one is technological incompetency, which the health care program has exhibited, and two, and bigger, is hypocrisy. And this hypocrisy issue hangs over the health care issue like a dark cloud. You cannot treat people differently. That creates a very hypocritical situation for Obama, and I think it's going to tank his whole project.
Well, Rick, that's the thing. It's the hypocrisy. A bailout for the friends if you're a friend of the administration, but if you're like the rest of us, you get shafted. That's not fair.
Well, I guess where I'm a little confused is the bailout. The president said this week there would be no bailout for insurers. He still has not even come close to agreeing to the $63 a head break for the unions. And if the perk you're referring to in Congress is that their employer is going to pick up a percentage of their costs, then that's the same perk that everybody who works here gets. So I'm having some trouble understanding where these special perks are.
Well, we'll explain it, but go ahead. Okay, well, Emac, the fact is that there is a tax that is supposed to capitalize a reinsurance fund for Obamacare. It's another Obamacare tax. Remember, originally there were not supposed to be any. It's a $25 billion cost. That is the cost of this fund. As Rick said, it's going to be $63 a head, except if you're in one of these union plans.
Yeah, unions, a lot of those unions already got waivers, over 1,400 waivers. Listen, let's just go through the boondoggle, the pork barrel that essentially health reform is turning into. The employer mandate has been delayed. The drug companies got a lot of help. Gone are the income verification for the tax credit in the exchanges. And the Waldorf Astoria politicians in Congress get special basically a hotline into the insurance companies, and also special help on Capitol Hill, sort of like how they had an IRS agent on Capitol Hill helping them out with the tax returns for the tax laws they wrote. It goes on. And the irony here is the trade-offs that are going on for this pork barrel, this whale of a bill. The whole bill is built on a trade-off, meaning that the upper income people have to help out the lower income. We get it. We want to help the uninsured. But is this really the way to go?
Sabrina, by the way, Sabrina, we had a graphic up just a moment ago talking about employer mandate kicking in at the end of 2013. Of course, President Obama delayed that to the end of 2014. But I'm just wondering, how much more delaying can he do before he admits that the whole thing isn't working?
Well, right, he's certainly losing political capital, but what I think is good that's coming out of this mess is that people are seeing the result of progressive government that deems itself God, choosing who shall flourish and who shall fail. I think it's what Michael Cannon at the Cato Institute said so perfectly. He said, we have turned into a country where we have the ruling class versus the rest of us. And the bottom line is Obamacare is for the commoners. But the problem is, of course, that the commoners are facing, loss of insurance, increase in premiums, insecurity, not knowing if they're going to have insurance next year or not, loss of jobs, loss of hours on the job. So there's real problems here.
Mike, at the risk of giving a free plug to the Hunger Games movie, the new Hunger Games, it's like the Hunger Games, right? Like 90% of the population has to pay the price for the 10% that lives in the Capitol.
Well, I'd just like to have, David, that nice concierge service that a lot of these congressional aides get to help them weave through everything. I mean, I guess if you're really wired in and you're one of these big political guys or one of their aides, you really get helped a lot during these times where a lot of people are just having trouble navigating the site. So right from that point of view, we see the preferential treatment.
And John Tamney, I know we're going to hear explanations for this and suggestions that, in fact, it is fair. But after all the lies and all the broken promises, who is the American people going to believe?
They're not going to believe Obama, and this was inevitable. All federal legislation inevitably has handouts to preferred constituents. Now, the beauty of this, and this is why we should be positive, is all these exceptions have rendered the law totally unworkable. I mean, when you look at Obama, you say he is the gift that keeps on giving because he exposes the lie that is compassionate government on a daily basis. And thank goodness he's got a few more years to expose that. It's going to transform the electorate in 2014.
Well, that's an interesting point. And, Rick, I want to throw that to you. The fact is a lot of these things are being delayed, which means a lot of the payments will be delayed, which means we're going to go deeper into debt in order to pay for this. And remember that other promise that Obama made, it's not going to add a dime to the deficit. It already has.
Well, you know, there's some truth in what you're saying. I certainly wouldn't deny it. But the real issue on that is how long will the delays be? There was a delay we heard this yesterday morning that another 30 days they're going to add to the sign-up period next year. These delays are not critical. They can get to a point, I will absolutely agree with you, where they can become very critical. I do want to add one thing quickly. Sabrina said something I really like. She said that Obamacare is for the commoners. Yes, because most of us are commoners, and that's precisely who it's intended to help.
I think it's precisely what she said was paying for Obamacare was for the commoners. The special interests get the deals. But hold on a second. One thing, Rich Karlgaard, hold on a second. One thing, Rich Karlgaard, I want to say about the recent delay we heard about. The delay is till just after the next election. Remember, that's why that delay was important, the one that was just announced. Go ahead.
Yeah, what a surprise. I mean, 2014 is going to be a real referendum. You already see telltale signs. Kay Hagan, the senator in North Carolina, is now looking in grave danger. Terry McAuliffe went from a 12-point lead to a 2-point lead in the Virginia governor's race in the last 2 weeks of the race. So, you know, Democrats are running around looking for cover right now, and they're not going to find it because the administration just keeps stepping in it.
Well, and Emac, to that point, I'm wondering how much that delay will actually help. Everybody knows, even if they delay the next part of this rollout till a week or two after the next election, people still know what's going to happen. People still will remember what has been happening,
right?
The
approval ratings are at 9% for Congress, and I like that line from Barron's that Congress in the midterms are going to be neck and neck in the mud because that's where they're stuck. This is what happens when you whoop through a bill that nobody reads, and it's really difficult to read, and is causing insurance premiums to spike across the board, and people are losing their doctors by the score. This is worse than the sequester fights. This is worse than the government shutdown. It is nailing people and hitting people directly in their wallets, and the middle-class families coming home for the holidays are really feeling it.
And Sabrina, guess who the administration is picking on now as being the cause of all this problem? Doctors. Doctors are paid too much. Will that fly with the public?
Well, first of all, I think, isn't that the argument we were using back in the 1990s? I mean, sometimes I just wonder if this administration just hits rewind all the time. They never seem to have anything new to offer. I can tell them one number that they should pay attention to, and that is 94% of Americans who think that it is fair that Congress must follow the same rules and the same law as the American people. That is survey research that the Independent Women's Voice did. And I tell you, that is something that they're going to want to think about before the holiday season.
Once again, two Americas, the folks, most of us who pay for it, and then the ones who get the exceptions. Mike?
Yeah, I think the doctors are going to be the Obama administration's next target. I think they're going to look to regulate doctors' pay. And I really don't think Obama cares that you're going to see less doctors. In fact, you know, instead of going to see a doctor, you're going to see like a doctor's assistant because doctors make too much money. They're the villains.
There's going to be a lot of people to cover that haven't been covered. That's got to be the last word. Coming up,